journalists Maria Ressa and Dmitry Muratov bagged the prestigious Nobel Peace Prize. Ressa is the first Filipino to do so. The Norwegian Nobel Committee describes Ressa as a fearless defender of freedom of expression, as a journalist and co-founder of the digital media news company Rappler. The Nobel Peace Prize laureate joins us now live. Maria, kudos, bravo, congratulations.
Thank you, Rico. Maraming salamat.
It's been 3 days. Has it already sunk in that you are a Nobel Peace Prize laureate?
I'm still stunned and I'm getting used to it. I have never had every platform I'm on just explode with messages. It's truly global in scope, and the kind of attention it focuses on both the Philippines and Filipino journalists and journalists around the world is extremely welcome at this moment in time.
I listened to that call that you got from the Nobel Committee. All you could say was that you were speechless. But share with us, what were you doing before the call, and what time was it during the day?
So it was a little bit before 5 o'clock. I was actually in a panel talking about independent media, defending press freedom in Southeast Asia. I was with Stephen Gan from Malaysia Kini. You know that Malaysia Kini was also attacked by the government. Stephen had to go to court, and Malaysia Kini was fined, but it was able to actually crowdfund within a few hours after he stepped out of court. From Indonesia, the EIC, Arif, was also on this panel with me for Tempo. And what was interesting was, when we were talking, all of a sudden I had my cell phone here, and I saw Norway flashing. And I was like, okay, I knew that we might get a call, but I thought, well, maybe they're just telling me I didn't get it. So I just muted and picked up the phone and got the call. And then as I listened, I kind of realized, oh my God, I think he's telling me that I won. And when he did say that, and then he added, I can't tell you who you're sharing this with. It's because Dmitry didn't pick up the phone, right? And he just said, but we will be announcing, and that was maybe 10 or 15 minutes later. So he told me, you can't tell anyone. But of course, I went back on and I immediately messaged my co-founders in Rappler, and I just sat on the energy and went back to the panel until it was announced.
You still kept your composure despite all the excitement and the energy within you. And Maria, world leaders, including the likes of US President Joe Biden, have congratulated you on the Nobel. We've heard a message from Malacanang, but President Duterte has been still silent. Still no congratulatory message. Are you still expecting one from him?
I have no expectations. I think that there have been repeated lies that have been pushed forward over the last 5 years. And, for the presidential spokesman to congratulate, thank you, and then to immediately hit and say that, it is that the case against me had been filed by a private individual. That's a lie. It is actually the Philippine government, the Department of Justice that filed that. So I guess I just hope, like the social media platforms, that we get enlightened self-interest, that the government realizes that the role of journalists in a fully functioning democracy is actually to make government better, to help government make better decisions. The reasons we ask questions is not to trip them up. It is actually to help them find the right choice. The mission of journalism is more important today, and I would really like to see us working better together.
Many have praised you for this landmark achievement, but there have also been bashers. And we heard earlier from the national artist, Virgilio Almario. Forget about those bashers. Just don't listen to them. What do you say to critics who say you don't deserve this award? You heard earlier, Senator Bato de la Rosa. He says if the basis for awarding her is that she fought for press freedom, then mali. Ang awarding body niyan, mali. Dahil meron naman tayong press freedom.
I think you just look at the facts. The Press Freedom Index. In the World Press Freedom Index, the Philippines is 138 out of 150 something. 138 out of 180. And then you just see, right? You look at ABS-CBN and how it lost its franchise. You look at how journalists are under attack. You look at Frenchie May Cumpio, who's been in prison for more than a year now. You look at the 19 journalists who've been killed. So I think it's okay. Everyone is entitled to their opinion, whether it's educated or not.
In this forthcoming election, we know the fight, Maria, goes beyond the ballot. It starts right on our phones, in what we consume on social media. What is your advice to our kababayans on how we can utilize social media as a tool of information rather than disinformation?
So I think the first step is to understand that social media is a behavior modification system. That if you're in it too long, if you click a story or like a story, that becomes data in a business model called surveillance capitalism that insidiously manipulates our behavior. That's first. And then the second thing is to realize that you have to find your voice and that you must move beyond the cell phone and go out, create communities of action in your area of influence. What does civic engagement mean? What does democracy mean to you? I think the Philippines is at an existential moment. And this will determine whether democracy survives, whether our institutions get stronger. I always say that these elections are going to be a battle for facts, which makes journalism even more important. I mean, think about it. 35 years after people power, after Filipinos chased the Marcos family out and they fled to Hawaii, we have Ferdinand Marcos's son, Bongbong, now running for president. It's an interesting time. Rappler has exposed the disinformation networks that have led to kind of a historical denialism.
Right.
The question is, each of us are entitled to our own opinions, but not to our own facts. And I'm not the first person to say that. So please go back to the facts. If you're emotional, stop, think slow, not fast.
And don't share the misinformation easily. Think about it before you share it. And of course, this disinformation, Maria, is also being led by online trolls, farm trolls, individual trolls. How can we fight them? How can we fight this barrage of disinformation from these trolls?
I think the first is to realize that this is the design of the social media platforms and to hold the American companies accountable for that. We got in trouble because in 2016, we tried to ask President Duterte and the Philippine government to be accountable and to stop the impunity for the drug war, and Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook for the information operations. So the first step that you have to do is to realize the environment that we're living in and to see what you can do to change it. I think that's the other reason why this time is extremely important for us. The world as we knew it, it's gone. And we're now in the process of building it. And Rico, you're back in Manila. So there's something exciting about that, right? Even as we're dealing with the challenges of this poisoned information ecosystem, of Chinese information operations attacking Filipinos, manipulating Filipinos. Rico, was it September last year? Facebook took down information operations from China that were already campaigning for Sara Duterte, that were burnishing the image of the Marcoses. And it was attacking journalists like me. So this happened in September last year. What more will happen once campaigns are underway?
And what does your Nobel Peace Prize mean, Maria, for local journalists and for Philippine media?
I hope that it will infuse us with more energy. This is what I saw, at least with Rappler. Friday night, I had a quick 30-minute meeting with our team, and I was so tired because I'd just been talking, right? But then I just stopped to listen. And the Rapplers, our young reporters, were just so happy, infused with energy. And I guess that's the attitude we have. This is a burst of adrenaline as we move into the next phase, which we're walking into elections. We're at the tail end of the Duterte administration. We can demand accountability. We can create the future, right? Create it now. And we do that by smiling with hope, with optimism that we can create a better world.
And on that note, we would like to thank you, Maria, for joining us on The Final Word. Congratulations on behalf of CNN Philippines.
Maraming salamat. Thank you so much.